So just wanted to welcome everybody. We're in week 2. This is our virtual travel series. My name is Sarah Boreen. I'm with Flourish, and I'll introduce our co-presenters and facilitators in just a moment, but I would like to give a huge thanks to Traveling Aggies with the Association of Former Students, Office of the Provost Public Partnership and Outreach, as well as Education Abroad. So we're all excited that you're here. Your bags are packed and we are heading to Costa Rica. Just wanted to go over a few housekeeping tips and reminders for the session. If everybody could please remain muted, that would be great. That way our presenters can have are distraction free. And then if you could kindly ask questions via the chat, I'll be monitoring the chat, and kind of as we go, we'll be able to pose those questions to our presenters. This is a very kid-friendly session, so if you have kids in the next room, or if you want to quickly send the link to somebody who would like to watch, a child or a teenager, feel free to do so. Connect with us on Facebook. Flourish has a page, an event page, basically, where we have all of the information on this series, and that's where we post a bunch of additional resources. So we have gathered, thanks to Education Abroad, some staff in Education Abroad has gathered some phenomenal resources, a lot of kid-friendly activities and other resources specifically pertaining to Costa Rica. And so just wanted to go over an outline of today's program. We're going to start out with some basic facts of Costa Rica, move on to a cultural overview, connect with some Aggies in Costa Rica. We have a very special guest, and we'll talk a little bit about the Texas A&M Soltis Center, and also our special guest is part of the Soltis family, so we'll have a Soltis family perspective. We are honored to have a faculty with us, so we'll have a faculty perspective on Costa Rica. And then at the end, we'll do some upcoming events and reminders, and we will conclude with a really cool dance video. So as I mentioned before, my name is Sarah Boreen, and I'm with Flourish. Flourish is the newish employee engagement and overall well-being program for Texas A&M staff and faculty. And I am honored to be here today with some fabulous ladies who have really done a lot of work to put this all together for you. Jennifer Bohawk with Traveling Aggies with the Association of Former Students. She is connected to so many people, and we're so glad that she's on our planning team. And Kim Fox with the Office of the Provost Public Partnership and Outreach. Kim will be we'll be talking a little bit later, and we're so excited to have her on the team. And then last but not least, Katie Lane with Education Abroad. Katie has a lot of resources and connections with students, of course, working in that office. So ladies, I think we make a great team, and we're so excited and honored to bring this virtual travel series to you all. We have some presenters, some very special guests. As we go through each section, we'll kind of introduce them more formally and give a little bit information, but I would like to just have everybody see the slide and kind of acknowledge all of our special guests and presenters. So we'll introduce them momentarily. And then now moving on to some basic facts. Katie Lane will be giving some really interesting, actually, facts about Costa Rica. So I'm going to turn it over to Katie.
Thank you, Sarah, and howdy, everyone. I hope that your day is off to a great start and you are ready to explore Costa Rica. First of all, we'll start off with where Costa Rica is located. Well, last week we were in Panama, so Costa Rica is just to the northwest of Panama, located between Nicaragua and Panama. The population of Costa Rica is just under 5 million people, which is about half the population of New York City. It is around the same size as Lake Michigan and slightly smaller than West Virginia. And there's 800 miles of coastline. Some significant things about Costa Rica, although not all of them are active, there are around 200 volcanoes. Poas volcano in central Costa Rica has the second largest volcanic crater in the world. Christopher Columbus first visited what is now considered Costa Rica in 1502, and then the Spanish colonists came a little bit later and established started to begin to establish their presence in 1563. Costa Rica, interestingly enough, has not had a national army since 1948. They do consider themselves to be an army of teachers. We'll learn more about that later. And it has one of the oldest democracies in Latin America. Costa Rica is considered the happiest country in the world, so it's definitely moved up on my list after learning that. It's a paradise for peace and biodiversity and a green beacon for environmental stewardship. Costa Rica is home to approximately 5% of the world's biodiversity, but it actually only occupies about 0.3% of the planet's surface. So it's definitely doing a great job there. We're going to learn more about that as well. The flag of Costa Rica is really unique and interesting, so I wanted to tell you a little bit more about it. It was created in September 29th of 1848 by Pacifica Fernandez Oremuno. She was the wife of the current state chief at that time. And she actually used the French national flag as her inspiration. So those of you that might have recognized that, good job. The flag has 5 stripes. The one in the middle with the red stripe is twice as big as the blue and the white stripes. The blue stands for the Costa Rican sky that works like a shield and the opportunities within reach. For example, intellectual thinking, perseverance, infinity, eternity, religious ideals, and spiritual desires. The white symbolizes peace, wisdom, and happiness. For example, clear thinking, power, natural beauty, and most of all, the Costa Rican initiative. The red shows the heroism and energy of the Costa Ricans when it comes to defend their principles, like democracy. It expresses the warmth of the Costa Rican people, their love of life, and blood spilled during the fight for their freedom. The shield is very intricate, so you can see that over there on the right. It displays 3 volcanoes and a valley between 2 oceans. Each one has a merchant ship. These represent the nation's 3 mountain ranges, the Central Valley, the country's 2 coasts, and the cultural and commercial exchange between Costa Rica and the rest of the world. A sun rises over the horizon, representing Costa Rica's prosperity, and the 7 stars in the blue sky are for each of the country's provinces. At the top, you'll see a blue ribbon, and it says America Central, with a white banner below reading República de Costa Rica. There's also 2 myrtle branches that sit atop the banner, and they symbolize Costa Rica's peaceful nature. You'll see the shield is enclosed on both sides by small golden circles that represent coffee, also known as golden beans, and we'll have a special guest join us later to tell us more about coffee in Costa Rica. And then a few interesting facts to leave you with before we go through the rest of our presentation. I mentioned the Army of Teachers. Well, Costa Rica has a literacy rate of 97.8%, one of the highest in the world. That's pretty incredible. Some famous Costa Ricans that you may or may not know include a Nobel Peace Prize winner, Oscar Arias, an astronaut, Franklin Chang, and one of the best goalies in the world with Real Madrid, Keylor Navas. Over 25% of Costa Rica's land area is protected as either a national park or a wildlife reserve, and they have the largest percentage of territory protected out of any country in the world. Pretty neat. This next one has me a little bit worried as a tourist, but I'm sure I could find some locals to help me find the way. Street names are not regularly used in Costa Rica. In general, addresses are given in terms of distance from a local landmark. So for example, let's say I want to visit the Costa Rican vacation office. I would be told the following. It's 100 meters west and 50 meters north of the main entrance to the National Stadium. Definitely a little complicated for me as a visitor, but the local ticos get around just fine. And then finally, every town, no matter how small, has a church, a soccer field, and a pulperia, which is a corner store. All churches in Costa Rica face west, which is extremely helpful when finding your way around due to the lack of street names. So you always know that the front of the church is facing west when you get your directions. Thank you so much. Now I'm going to transition to Jennifer to introduce our next speaker.
Howdy, I'm Jennifer Bohack with the Traveling Aggies, and I'm thrilled to introduce Michaela. She's with International Seminar Design. We utilized this operator when we were with President and Mrs. Marty Young this fall to visit Costa Rica, and she's going to give us a little cultural overview about the country, the beauty, and entice you to come visit.
Hello everyone, and welcome to this cultural overview of Costa Rica. I'm Michaela Kanasia with International Seminar Design, a custom design tour operator.
While we're waiting, I do want to warn one of the videos has a bit of an echo, so don't adjust your dial.
welcome to this cultural overview of Costa Rica. I'm Michaela Colangelo with International Seminar Design, a custom design tour operator based in Washington, D.C. Last year, we partnered with Texas A&M to organize the President's Tour. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this cultural overview of Costa Rica. I'm Michaela Colangelo with International Seminar Design, a custom design tour operator based in Washington, D.C. Last year, we partnered with Texas A&M to organize the President's Tour to Costa Rica, which highlighted the university's Solstice Center and the work being done there. We're known for creating highly tailored itineraries and cultural destinations around the world, and we particularly enjoyed working in the beautiful, ecologically rich nation of Costa Rica. This presentation is meant to offer just an overview to the country and all it has to offer, and I'll let the subsequent presenters delve deeper into many of these topics. Costa Rica is known for its rich biodiversity, tropical climate, and natural resources. The nation is a leader in sustainability efforts and a model of environmental protectionism and appreciation. So I wanted to begin with this short clip, which captures well the country's ecological diversity, as well as its many cultural offerings.
Modern life moves faster than ever. We've lost touch with some of the most essential aspects of what it really means to be alive. It's time to recharge and reclaim all that is pure and vital for real happiness. To get our priorities straight and rise above the noise, Costa Rica lives that promise. To give us what we all need, to feel truly fulfilled, to find balance, to be at peace, and discover the thrill of just being present in the moment. So we invite you to make this promise, to connect with nature, each other, even yourself, to visit Costa Rica, life's essentials found here.
So to set the scene, we'll offer a brief country profile. Costa Rica is a country largely comprised of immigrants coming from Europe, particularly Spain, and other Central American countries. There are also some indigenous and African influences, which are found primarily in the Guanacaste and Limon regions, although indigenous populations can be found across the country, though these communities comprise less than 1% of today's total population. The country is divided into 7 provinces. Here we can see San Jose, which is the capital and an urban center, where about 20% of the country's population resides, and the Limon province on the Caribbean coast. This map delineates the 7 provinces, and we can see that the country is bordered by Nicaragua to the north and Panama to the south. As I mentioned, San Jose, in the province of San Jose, is the capital and an urban center. It's also a cultural oasis, offering art museums, performance centers, food markets, and the like. Coffee production, which is a major facet of Costa Rican culture and its economy, is centralized in the Heredia and Cartago provinces. Cartago today is known as the historic and colonial center of the country and was the nation's first original capital. Across all these provinces, Costa Rica offers an abundance of natural resources, and these include extensive natural parks, volcanoes, and bodies of water. But these are particularly concentrated in Guanacaste and in Punta Arenas and Limon along the coast, which are known for their stunning beaches and impressive biodiversity. As I mentioned, Costa Rica boasts numerous national parks and beaches. It's known for its volcanic sites and activity and its tropical ecosystems. Of particular note geologically, there are 2 major mountain regions. In the north, we find the Cordillera Volcanica, which is a volcanic range, and in the south, the Cordillera de Talamanca. This image is of Arenal volcano in the Alajuela province, which is about an hour from Texas A&M Solstice Center. It's last erupted in 2010, but its most recent destructive eruption was in 1968 when it devastated 2 nearby towns. Here we have just a few of Costa Rica's many natural parks. Country is also a haven for tropical biology research, with stations like the Organization for Tropical Studies outside San Jose and the Tropical Agricultural Research and Higher Education Center in Turrialba. Costa Rica still faces some challenges to environmental protectionism around issues like deforestation, pollution, and soil erosion. But despite these challenges, the nation is still a leader in sustainability efforts, and these include working toward fostering green energy through hydro, geothermal, wind, and solar power, developing initiatives to protect its forests and marine life, and pledging to achieve carbon neutrality by 2050. Costa Rica is also a leader in promoting and enforcing sustainable tourism, which is of particular interest and importance in today's day and age. The development of the Certification for Sustainable Tourism, the logo we saw on the previous slide, is an initiative intended to do three things. The first is to protect natural and social resources, the second to promote local communities, and the third to support entrepreneurship at the local level. The Sustainable Tourism Mark is awarded to industries or companies across the tourism sector that have demonstrated adherence to a number of these essential criteria. So while nature is a central component of Costa Rican life, tourism, and its economy, the country does offer other cultural highlights. Art, music, theater, and dance are prevalent in urban centers like the capital. Sports like football, or soccer as we would call it, and more recently surfing and fishing have become hallmarks of national culture. So I'd like to conclude with this quote from current Costa Rican President Carlos Alvarado Quesada, who recently said, "Sustainability triggers new innovations, new developments, new jobs. It's our job to show examples that this is possible." His statement really demonstrates the importance of environmental sustainability across all sectors of Costa Rican life, and it shows how these values define the nation as a global leader of sustainability efforts. Costa Rica continues to protect its natural resources and to encourage innovations in sustainability, and it offers all of this and so much more to anyone who's able to visit. So I wanted to thank you for your time, and I hope you enjoy the rest of this morning's presentation.
Well, howdy, this is Jennifer again, and we're excited to have the president of Costa Rica A&M Club, Marco Soto, class of 1988, share a little bit about what it's like to be in Costa Rica, an Aggie, and the Texas A&M Club in Costa Rica. A view of some of the Aggie gatherings.
Delighted to make this video for you. I live in Costa Rica. I am a Texas A&M graduate student from, that was a while ago, 1988, electrical engineering major. And I have lived in Costa Rica probably, most of my life. I lived in the US a couple of times while I was in school. My dad used to work at a technological company in Massachusetts, and we moved there for about a year. And then I went to school to Texas A&M for about almost three years, because actually I had started school here, and so I transferred the credits. And so I'm an engineer, but also I actually am a private consultant and coach. I do coaching for corporations, management level leadership, and I do all other type of consulting work as well. And I was hoping to be live with you guys during this webinar or transmission, but we have a small house by the coast in the Pacific Ocean, and this week has been we were visited by a really big storm, and in our neighborhood about 20 houses were flooded. We expect or hope that our house is not damaged. It's not is not included in the 20 that are damaged. So we kind of last minute schedule a visit to our house for tomorrow, or it would be today for you. So I'm gonna miss talking to you live and listening to your questions or comments. But yeah, I hope everything is okay. So that's probably one of the topics I wanted to share. Is it rains a lot in Costa Rica, rains a lot. And especially during what we call the rainy season, which starts in May, goes all the way through December, November, December. So, well, they told me that Monday night rained in only 4 hours, rained the equivalent of a full month in a rainy season. So that's a big, it's a big chunk of water. So sunny season, which is the other season we have, starts in January all through April. So that's another time, really good time to visit. Costa Rica, we like to say that we are a green country. We have lots of forests, lots of volcanoes, really nice beaches, lakes, and so rainforest, biodiversity, those are key words that our country is well known for. And well, the pandemic has changed a lot of things, as you know, because tourism for us is really big. I mean, hundreds of thousands of people visit Costa Rica every month, and so right now there is a very strict travel restriction in and out of Costa Rica. So that's hurting the tourism economy or market. And so we are also very well known for the coffee. High altitude gourmet coffee is very famous in Costa Rica, all over the world. And some other thing I wanted to share is international companies like technology, pharmaceutical, and medical have opened big operations in Costa Rica, employing thousands of people. And so people in Costa Rica are very, very well computer savvy or educated. They're mostly bilingual, so that helps a lot too. And as far as the Association of Former Students, we're about 10 to 15 active members right now. And the total number of former students living in Costa Rica, which includes some people from the United States, is around 200 to 250 people. So Costa Rica, the name of our country literally means rich coast. And that's probably because the Spanish people that visited, they thought that we had gold, and probably they didn't find much gold, but the richness of Costa Rica is more in our culture. Costa Rica, we Costa Ricans call ourselves Ticos, T-I-C-O-S, Ticos, and we like to name things with the tico at the end, like when you say chiquitito or chiquitico, which means like tiny, something small but exaggerated. So we use the tico at the end for many words. And also we use the slang it's actually like reading, pura vida, which stands for pure life. And that tells you also a lot about Costa Ricans. We like to enjoy our lives and enjoy our work. Most Costa Ricans are happy people. They enjoy having a good standard of life. And in my case, I worked for a family-owned company in technology. We sold computer products and supplies and service. I worked with this company for about 20 years, and then I got independent from the family-owned company and began my consulting work. So being an Aggie has been probably the key success factor that as far as, you know, an identity of being a Texas Aggie it makes me really, really proud, and it opens many doors. So even though I'm not working in engineering anymore, I'm more like an entrepreneur. I'm more like a consultant. I do human resource consulting, and I'm a certified coach for large corporations on a management level. I do leadership training and things like that. That's kind of my passion. But being an Aggie has always been with me as a really proud asset in my life. And so I basically try to get involved in different Texas A&M activities, and I'll be really, really happy to answer any questions. I'll leave my contact information with this video, and if you ever want to come and visit, let me know, and I'll be really, really glad to help you set up some tour plan. But I hope that this was informative enough, and I hope I was not very boring, and look forward to being in contact with you guys. Bye-bye. Bye.
Well, thank you, Marco, for joining us. Unfortunately, found out late last night about the flooding, I think in conjunction with these tropical depressions, but we are thrilled. Maria Paula Sines, class of 07, jumped in this morning and said she would come and visit with us live from Costa Rica. So Maria, we're glad you're with us.
Hi, everybody. I'm just going to give a quick, background. I'm like Jennifer said, class of 07. I did a bachelor in environmental design. So that's in the architecture school in Langford. And the reason that I ended up going to Texas A&M is because my parents met there. My mom is from Colombia and my dad is from Costa Rica, and they met at Texas A&M. And I wanted to study abroad. So that was not the only reason, but so that's part of the reason. And I'm very, very happy and proud to be an Aggie. I'm also part of the Aggie Club, but, not very active, I must confess. And right now I'm a design strategist. So even though I went to architecture school and I later did a master's in London for housing and urbanism, I ended up going down the strategy lane, still in architecture and in the environment, but I'm leading the consulting practice area lead group for Gensler in Latin America. So our office here in Costa Rica, we're the hub office for Gensler in Latin America. And I don't know if you guys know Gensler, but that's a big design firm. We have offices around the world, everywhere, a few in Texas. And so, that's just, being an Aggie for me, and then moving on to work at Gensler was a big, just like a natural transition. And some of the pictures that you're seeing there right now are just you know, because of the pandemic, I live in downtown San Jose, and we had to come live at the farm temporarily because I have kids, as you can see, and I don't have a garden in my apartment. And so, you know, when they canceled school and we're doing homeschooling, I was like, you know, we need to get out. And so I'm in the mountains of Grecia, actually in a coffee farm. My husband's family does, you know, they export coffee. And so what you can see there is my kid learning how to ride his bicycle in the coffee patio. So they're, you know, drying all the coffee, and, you know, we have forests, and it's just been a great experience, you know, for the family and for the kids. So they're learning about everything. What you can see there is, you know, a picture of our garden, you know, one of those pitaya flowers opening up. They open up for like 4 hours. I'm not kidding. And then they close and die. And then on the right is a picture of the coffee plant flowering. Now we just passed that point of you know, in the year when everything's flowering, blossoming, and, you know, getting ready for the fruits to come out and the harvest in November, starting in November, December. And so just, you know, for you guys to see the coffee flower, which is not typically what you see on the pictures. And some of the coffee being packed into container going to Australia in this case. And my kids learning from that, just, you know, part of the homeschooling by default. So that was just a little bit of me. And like Marco, if you guys ever want to come to Costa Rica, you know, feel free to contact me. I'll be happy to show you around or tell you where to go, where not to go. It's equally important to know where not to go. And just, you know, I go back to Texas A&M every now and then, and it's just has a special place in my heart. So thank you for giving me this space. I'm you know, happy to be part of this conversation.
Thank you, Maria. We look forward to welcoming you back to Aggie Land. Let us know when you're here and we'll come and see us.
Perfect.
Well, great. Thank you so much for your time, Maria and Marco. You're in our thoughts right now. Hopefully everything works out for you guys. But this is Kim Fox. I am the manager of community programs for Public Partnership and Outreach at A&M, and also the festival manager for Brazos Valley World Fest, an international and cultural festival we host here in the community in October and November every year. And I have the pleasure to introduce Eugenio Gonzalez, class of '96. He is the founding director of the Soltis Center for Research and Education in the San Jose area of Costa Rica. The center celebrated its 10th anniversary in June of 2019. Eugenio completed his PhD in forestry at A&M, where he focused on reforestation and restoration of tropical areas. The Soltis Center is known as Texas A&M's gateway to Central America, and we're very proud of it. So before I turn it over to Eugenio, we have a short video to show, and then he will take over.
The Soltis Center was a generous gift by Bill Soltis, class of 1955, and his wife, Wanda. They saw this opportunity for students to go down to Costa Rica and gain an international and global perspective. The Soltis Center is far more than just a field station in the jungle. It is Texas A&M University's gateway to Latin America. Only 3 hours away from the city of Houston, it is a world away for many students who have never left the United States, and for some who have never left the state of Texas.
The center is very much, located in a very unique physical space where interaction on lowlands and cloud forests meet together and provide, a very, very unique condition for better understanding the global changes around the world.
The Soltis Center provides us a tremendous opportunity to study hydrology here in the tropical forest. And from the work that we are able to do here, we are able to better understand how the conversion of the forest to agriculture will affect our environment.
I've been bringing undergrads here from A&M for 5 years now every summer. And I think that one of the great things about the Soltis Center is it gives our Aggie undergrads an opportunity to experience another country, another culture. And I know that that will be really valuable for them when they graduated and are working as practicing engineers throughout the United States.
It's really a great opportunity for me to get some international experience, because I'm hoping one day to do international development work. So just the global perspective that we get here is great, and hopefully I can apply it one day to international development work and just help people out overseas.
I'm here on an undergraduate summer research grant for Texas A&M. And this grant is giving me the opportunity to do some hands-on learning. I get to make the learning myself instead of studying through a textbook. This environment is totally different than anything I've gotten to work in before. It's a great opportunity. Next year, I'll be entering grad school, and this experience is helping me define the direction of my graduate research.
This being my second time at the Soltis Center, I've learned so much from the international and biological diversity that's here, and I'm ever grateful for the Texas A&M Soltis Center.
Howdy. This is my turn, and first I want to thank you, for putting me in this, participating in this seminar, web seminar. As you already know about Costa Rica, I don't think we're gonna get that deep, but about the center, this year, last year we celebrated our 10th anniversary. We started operating in 2009. And then, since then we have been working, receiving programs from College Station, mostly, but from all the schools of the system, some other schools from the United States, How can I move to the next slide? Okay, a little bit about Costa Rica in general. I just want to give you a quick overview. The Soltis Center is not actually exactly in San Jose. It's a little bit far away on the northern part of the country, in a small town called San Isidro de Peñas Blancas, in close to a small community called San Juan, where no more than 60 families, probably a little bit more, are living there. And the nearest or the closest town there is La Fortuna, which is probably the most visited, tourist destination that we have in the country. So we're about 2.5 hours from San Jose, driving, from the airport to the Soltis Center on the Caribbean side of the country. Next, please. Yeah. So, as you all already know, the building and the property were donated by the Soltis family. Bill, Wanda, his wife, and the whole family, make this such a great contribution, to the university, to science, to education, to research. And since 2009, we have been operating the center, which is in the middle of this picture shows you where the center is basically in the middle of rainforest. As a background, there is a wild protected forest there, and all over there is part, of the open classroom that we have to offer to our programs. Next, please. So the idea came from Bill and his family, and Bill's vision and family was to actually get the Aggie spirit out, probably, from College Station, from Texas, while preserving the Costa Rica environment. So his advanced thought and idea was to have a multidisciplinary center, and encourage, all disciplines from our schools to have a field station, to have a place where to come and work, teach, learn, or share, with local communities. This is such a great idea because most centers like this are basically used by ecologists, biologists, ornithologists, zoologists, and rarely you're going to have people from social sciences. Well, our center is totally different. We are open to all sciences, all disciplines, from biology to laws to music, arts, all kind of different disciplines that we have. Next. Our mission here is basically, to be the official institutional representation of the system, in this case in Costa Rica. So as a way to assist, to help the internationalization of the education, research, and outreach programs, for the university here in Costa Rica. And of course, we support all the initiatives that we have from our faculty, from our students on those areas. Research, education, and outreach. As many son already said, the center is the gateway to Central America, although until now we haven't actually done much other than supporting, trips to Nicaragua, to Panama, working with some other institutions beyond, the Guatemala, El Salvador. But the center is basically, the gateway, the door for accessing, in general, Central America from Costa Rica. Next. The center is located, as I am already saying, in the middle of rainforest. In this picture, you can see, like the middle of that, a clear spot there. That's where the center is. We have, as a part of the center, over 250 acres of forest, plus the facilities where we are. And I want to make the point that we are not actually just as high as Monteverde, but that people know a lot, or as low, in the lowlands, in the Caribbean lowlands. We are kind of middle elevation forest, which is key, as I say, to understand better, what's happening in this transitional zone between lowlands and highlands. So the geographical location of the center is very unique, supporting any science program, research in those areas, in the middle elevation rainforest in the tropics. Next, please. This is a picture of the entire, the whole facility. On the bottom, on the right, we have what we call the Bill and Wanda Academic Center. We have a classrooms, we have a couple labs, no lab equipment, no, we don't have. We have basically the space. We have a cafeteria, and then up there on the left, we have the bungalows where we have 16 rooms, and we can accommodate easily between 50 or less people at the most, or 30 or 32, depending, on several variables, like, if they're gonna stay for a long time, they're gonna stay for a short time. So it depends how that, but basically, we can have up to 50 plus beds in the center. This slide I wanna show you, like the center is basically, in the middle of this entire area, forest. The yellow pin there shows where the center is, but all far on the left and up north, is basically forest. We are, the center forest is connected directly, with the eternal rainforest for the children, which is one of the largest private forests, protected forests in Central America. We, at this point, we don't have direct access to that. There are some other points, but any faculty, students, program willing to work using the entire area, they are pretty much welcome, but they can come to us and be part of this entire, protected land, Next, please. The local community, as I mentioned, is a small rural community in the countryside of Costa Rica. And you have a picture there on the left top, where they have a elementary school, high school. Some 60, probably 70 students, are attending that school. It's a very, very rural area, farmer area. And most of the farmers depend on subsistence farming. All they can grow on the farm, they're gonna eat that, for their own consumption, and then whatever is left is gonna be sold to the local market. So that's basically, the activity in this area. And beyond the center, most of the attention goes to La Fortuna. They have mentioned about the volcanoes, active volcanoes. They have mentioned about, all the volcanic structures that we have here and there in Costa Rica. Well, the closest one to the center is the Arenal volcano and La Fortuna town. And that's where basically, most of the visitors will go to enjoy, the ones was the most active volcano in the world. Now it's kind of dormant, but it's still a very, very attractive point there, and everybody goes over there. Next, please. Next. What we have here at the center, we offer, for our students, and faculty visiting programs in the academic building, classrooms, and all them with the modern commodities like internet access everywhere, a couple of spaces. We have video conference, and also we provide services like meals and laundry, and of course, guiding service, for those who really need to have, somebody, guiding them in a visit in the center or elsewhere. And the whole center is connected with internet, wireless internet, including the forest, up in the tower where we have a canopy tower, some 400 meters away from the center, with enough sign, for get all the sensors connected. So we have internet, wireless internet all over the center, for to support all the programs activities that we have. Next, please. As I mentioned to you, the Solstice, you see that spot there, that's where the center is. We are connected with the eternal rainforest for the children. Now we have projects actually visiting, working with these huge protected forests. As I mentioned, more than 50,000 hectares. And so anybody coming to our center and willing to work in such a great area, protected area, they will have also the opportunity. So this is very unique connection, very unique resource that we have, not just the center, but all this huge entire forest that we have to work with. Next, please. You know about Costa Rica a lot. Biodiversity probably is the most best known, feature of the country, other than being pura vida, smiling, laughing, happy people. But diversity probably is what called the attention of most visitors that we have. And as a country, Costa Rica is probably in the top one, when it comes to biodiversity. And the center is very much, a really unique core of focus, biodiversity. Here we expect to have more than 3,000 vascular plants. This number probably doesn't mean a lot, but normally in lowlands, you're gonna have 2,000, up in the highlands, a little bit more than 2,000. But the center, being a transitional elevation forest, we expect to have more than 3,000. And some studies, numbers showing that. We have freshwater fish here all over because it rains a lot. Marco mentioned that. We have over 200 inches of rain per year. It's been raining like crazy here in the last days. Costa Rica has probably a little bit more than 900 bird species. At the center, we have 1/3 of that, 30% or so. So this is such a good place, for birding, for visiting the place. Visit facilities, we provide the forest. We have a tower, with all the weather sensors for supporting research. We have also in the middle of the rainforest, 40-meter well-capped canopy tower, where there have been some projects already working in there. We have also a small dam, to monitor the hydrology of the forest. And of course, we have also weather stations along the Peñas Blancas River watershed to support, faculty and student projects. Next, please. Education, the center being used year round for training Aggie students from all our schools. Normally, during the breaks, filled to capacity, we have no rooms left. And fall spring semester programs, especially, biomedical science with Dr. Weissmith, who's gonna be later on, also providing this unique semester, during the fall since 2014. So this has been changing, of course, the students' lives perspectives about, what it is to be in a different country, what it is to be abroad, our center is working on that. Next, please. And also, not just faculty and students, we host, or facilitate different kind of meetings, conference, like this NSF research experience, for students. There have been 2 programs already, and one now is working. There have been other studies, from the Department of Energy, funded by the National Foundation for the Earthwatch Institute. So it's not just, we're not just focusing on our students and faculty, but all over, those who are pretty much willing to use the center in the way that we provide service. Key publications, there are a lot, now coming. So the center is actually supporting science in different ways. from new species, like they have been reported in the last 2 or 3 years, to new observations on how to understand better the hydrology or eco-hydrology of tropical rainforests. And the nearby community, we have really strong relationships with them. We work hand to hand with them, local schools, local municipalities, the universities in general. You know, we have really good connections, not in informal, not in written, but anytime that our students and faculty want to get in contact with locals or universities or the local leaders, we are very much, you know, in contact with them at all times. Next, please. Of course, you know, we have partnership with all local institutions all over the country. Just to mention some of them, University of Costa Rica, National University, the National Commission for Emergencies, and so on, you know, that anytime anybody coming, you know, to work with us at the center, if they were required, they need, you know, to be in contact with any faculty or, you know, official from those institutions, we very much facilitate, you know, their communication. And contacts, and you're gonna leave that, my name, direction, you can actually tap on the website and you're gonna find the Salty Center there on Facebook, or on campus, you can actually approach Chad Wooden is gonna be there, or Kim, Saltus, Kim Fox, any of them can provide any more information about the center. So thank you very much for your time and your attention. And let me just say pura vida, gracias. And anytime coming to Costa Rica, please take some time and visit us here down the rainforest or the Salty Center.
Oh, gracias, Eugenio. That was excellent. Thank you so much for sharing that. Our next speaker that I'd like to take the opportunity to introduce is Kim Soltis Hammer. She is a member of the Soltis Center Advisory Board, as well as the Texas A&M University International Board. Kim is an excellent ambassador for the university and promoter of international and cultural awareness. And also, Kim is the newest Aggie student, as I've heard, that she just found out she's been accepted into the Bush School of Government and Public Service. So congratulations on that. We'll turn it over to Kim.
Howdy, everyone. It's so much fun to get to see all of my Costa Rican friends and all of you folks from College Station. And I want to thank Katie so much. I learned a lot from your presentation that I should have already known about Costa Rica. 15 years ago, my father, Bill Soltis, had an idea for a study center in a remote corner of Costa Rica. First, he persuaded my mother to join him in this vision, and believe me, that was no mean feat. He shared his plans with his children and grandchildren, and we watched with awe as the Texas A&M Soltis Center for Research and Education emerged on a deforested farm at the edge of the rainforest. The Soltis Center opened 11 years ago this month, and in those 11 years, a frequent question has been, what was your father's vision for the Soltis Center? The answer may surprise you. My father really didn't have a specific vision for the center. Instead, he had faith that visionaries would rise from the faculty of A&M and that those visionaries would create and define the Soltis Center. I can tell you with all my heart, that faith was justified. A lifelong learner, my father always appreciated the value of higher education. My grandmother and her siblings had to leave school when they were only 14 to help on the farm. So in that family, just attaining a high school diploma was considered an extraordinary achievement. My father never even considered going to college, but the summer after graduating from high school, his boss, who was an Aggie, saw his potential and encouraged him to apply to A&M, then helped him find a scholarship. That act of kindness forever changed the trajectory of my father's life. My father may not have had a specific vision for the Soltis Center, but he certainly had a passion for the students who would get to study at the center. As he worked to create the Soltis Center campus, the student experience was always foremost in his mind. He used to joke that the most exotic place he had ever traveled prior to graduating from A&M was Galveston for his honeymoon. 5 years later, he was doing business all over the world as a specialist in the design and manufacture of clean rooms. The idea that students from A&M, some who may have never even left Texas before, would board a plane and 6 hours later be in the jungles of Costa Rica really spurred his imagination. Unfortunately, my father had a stroke 9 months before the opening of the Soltis Center. But my brothers, my brother, I have brothers, but my brother and sisters and I have continued his passion for encouraging students to have study abroad experience. I have enjoyed serving on the A&M International Advisory Committee and the Soltis Center Board, where I've seen firsthand the great strides A&M has made in making study abroad a priority for all undergraduates. Like my father, I have faith in the visionary faculty who will be drawn to the Soltis Center in the future. Maybe one of them is with us right now on this conference call. Whether your interest is in hard sciences or social sciences, liberal arts or agriculture, the Soltis Center is a place for you to give your students a high impact education that may change lives forever. Thank you all for taking time to be a part of this mini exploration of Costa Rica. And I'm happy to answer any questions you may have. Just put them on the chat. Thanks.
Kim, thank you so much for sharing about your family and especially about your father. I really wish that I had the pleasure to meet him. He sounds like a tremendous individual, and I love his heart that he had for sharing international experiences, especially in Costa Rica through the Soltis Center with Aggies. So thank you so much to you and your family for all that you've given to Texas A&M and that you continue to do and engage with our campus, with our faculty, with our students to help them to continue to have these tremendous experiences. So thank you so much. And we do have, speaking of faculty, we do have a remarkable faculty with us here today. We're really glad to hear about his experience in Costa Rica in particular. Dr. Donald Brightsmith is an associate professor in the Department of Veterinary Pathobiology in the College of Veterinary Medicine and Biomedical Sciences. He's also the global faculty advocate for Texas A&M Soltis Center for Research and Education. So he helps other faculty to create programming there as well. Dr. Brightsmith joined the faculty at Texas A&M in 2005, and his research focuses on conservation, ecology, health, and the welfare of parrots and their relatives in both the wild and captivity through the Shubat Exotic Bird Health Center. He earned his bachelor's degree in natural resources from Cornell University and his PhD in zoology from Duke. We're very excited to have Dr. Brightsmith with us here today to tell us about his engagement, like I said, with Costa Rica, and in particular, his role as a faculty member in cultivating transformational student experiences. So thank you, Dr. Brightsmith. Dr. Brightsmith, are you still here?
There we go. Let's try that. How am I? I gave you just great. You were a great introduction. Okay. A pleasure to be here. Thanks to my friends Eugenio and Kim for what they've had to say, and nice to see some new faces talking about Costa Rica as well. So with no further ado, let's move forward. Okay. So I'll give you a quick quiz. There's numbers on the side. This is number 1. My question is, which photos were taken in Costa Rica? We have a rainforest photo. We have a high elevation bog. So that's the canopy vegetation there is about 10 centimeters tall. We have a mountain stream. We have a dry deciduous forest where the trees are maybe only about 15 feet tall. We have an oak forest. That's usually thought of for further north. What else have we got here? And we have a Texas A&M facility. So think about it for a second, and I'll give you a hint. All of them were taken in Costa Rica. So the first thing my students usually expect upon arrival in Costa Rica is that, oh, it's all going to be one big giant green rainforest. Well, in fact, it's not. It's an extremely diverse country. And what we can see here is part of the reason of what's driving that diversity are these great mountains. Eugenio was talking about rain today, as was our other speaker. Well, when the wet tropical winds blow across these mountains, the rain falls on one side and it doesn't fall on the other side. And in our bottom left here, you can see there's a big map showing where the rain usually falls and where it usually doesn't. Central Valley usually doesn't get much rain until there's a hurricane in the northeast, and then all the rain flips around and goes into the Central Valley, which I think is what's happening right now. So what you have is these incredible mountain ranges surrounded by lowlands, creating a really wide diversity of habitats, like that whole range of photographs that I just showed you. Okay, since this is what I do, I study birds. A lot of my students get to hear a great deal about the birds of Costa Rica. So I'll give you a quick whirlwind introduction to some of the prettier species, give you some cool stuff to look at. There are about 1,000 species of birds that have been seen in the nation of Costa Rica, which is more species than regularly found in the US and Canada, not counting every little lost one that got blown over. But in general, on an average day, there's more species of birds in tiny little Costa Rica than in all of the US and Canada. You can see a motmot here, an ant bird, and this big turkey-like thing called a great curassow, which is, again, a little bit larger than a turkey. There are lots of groups of birds in Costa Rica that are common in the US, but all have their special tropical flair in Costa Rica. This is an ornate hawk eagle, a type of hawk. The vulture, the king vulture, is much snazzier and larger than our North American vultures. Owls, this is a spectacled owl. Even the doves get dressed up. This is a purple-backed quail dove. The woodpeckers, not likely to see this coming to your backyard feeder. And even the sparrows, the orange-billed sparrow, can get pretty brightly colored down in Costa Rica. So an incredible place to look at beautifully colored birds. Then there's some really strange groups of birds that are found further south, usually in places like Peru and South America. Tinamous, imagine a walking football with a little pinhead on top, and that's kind of what your tinamous look like, and they're about that smart. The guans are another group of turkey-like birds. We've got parrots, most of us know what those look like. The trogons, a wonderful tropical group, including the quetzal, which we'll see in a minute. The motmots, again, very beautiful birds with long tails. Puff birds, which are even sillier and really, really hard to see. And our final one, the Fruit Loops toucan, is also found in Costa Rica. So great, interesting groups of birds that are usually found further south. Okay, we have some groups that we're used to, but they're just super diverse. Here in College Station, you're lucky if you see one species of hummingbird, maybe two on a really, really good day, but Costa Rica hummingbirds abound in all sorts of interesting colors, shapes, and sizes, including what we like to call the Aggie hummingbird, the snowcap, which is Aggie maroon with a white cap on top. We also have flycatchers, which even me drive me crazy. Let's get one more. Lots and lots of species, most of all of which look almost the same to each other. So incredible groups with just lots and lots. Keep you a lifetime of bird watching opportunities. Also, the ones that spend the summers up here often spend the winters down in Costa Rica. A beautiful array of birds that migrate between North America to breed, and then Central America, including Costa Rica, for the winter. Just like a lot of the northerners who want to get out of the cold among the people as well. Okay, so here's another quiz. Which one is the national bird? We have 4 contenders today. You can cast your vote. Are you up for the resplendent quetzal, the beautiful scarlet macaw that I study, the keel-billed toucan who inspired Fruit Loops, or the, what is that, clay-colored robin? Well, I think Eugenio and a few others may know the answer. The answer is the clay-colored robin. The national bird of Costa Rica is found throughout the nation and sings right at the time to harvest the coffee. So there's some romanticism around it, and the fact that most Costa Ricans can wake up in the morning and see or hear this bird causes it to win out over some of the ones that the tourism industry might prefer actually having as their national bird. So who am I and why am I here? Well, in spring 1992, I too did a turn as a student in a semester-long tropical ecology course taught by the Organization of Tropical Studies. And then I worked for them from 1999 to 2002, teaching tropical ecology over the summer. I've also mentored and done a little bit of my own research in Costa Rica on and off since 1999. But the big reason I'm here today, and what I've been doing now for many years, since 2014, is the Costa Rica biomedical semester. held at the Soltis Center. Thanks so much to Eugenio for his collaboration on this massive effort that we put together. So the question is, why teach abroad? So I was asked for a perspective, and I was thinking about what's my perspective? Well, wow, you teach in the tropics. It just must be wonderful. It must just be a full party. Well, our program is over 300 hours of organized activities. It's way more work by the time you pick out the logistics. We have to move out of home for about 3 months. My research productivity drops. My graduate students get grumpy when I'm out of the country for 3 months. So it really is a great deal more work. And while I'm very happy that my college supports my work, I certainly am not going to get a free pass to tenure or anything else just because I work internationally. So why do it? And next slide. And basically, it's because you get to lead an exploration. You're taking these young minds, these students, and you're exploring with them. It's not just sitting in a classroom and giving them information. It's what I call education of place. We put these students in places where they can learn and then guide them through that. Guide them through learning about culture, nature, medicine, and most importantly, guide them through a discovery of themselves. And I've seen it now over and over again of how this changes the students forever. As was mentioned earlier, many of them have not left the United States before. Many of them didn't know that whitewater rafting was a thing. They had never seen an ox-drawn cart. They had never danced a traditional dance. And you can see all of these opportunities become a reality when you take these students out of where they're from and bring them to Costa Rica. Next. And this blew me away, and I kind of knew this but had never heard it. The goal of study abroad is to take students out of their comfort zone. And that's a really radical way to look at the world, especially if you're the faculty member, where you want everything to be perfect and every hotel to be ideal and every meal to be wonderful. But in a way, while you have to do a lot of that, that's not the goal of study abroad. It's getting those students in there to give their first injection. It's seeing a snake and understanding that that animal is in its home and you're a visitor in its home. Getting up, climbing the tower, working with community work. This young lady on the right, digging a hole to fill with cement in a hot sunny day and then getting rained on and then continuing. Going into the market where it's not like the US, eating food that's completely different. All of these things get them out of their comfort zone. But in a way it doesn't. In a way it expands the comfort zone. And that's when you really get to see these changes as these students go from freaking out about seeing a bug to grabbing it and saying, ugh, and throwing it off. And that's a huge transition, and over we get to see it. We also get to have some incredible adventures. That crocodile over there was captured by the wranglers and then pinned down and held and tied down by our students and our faculty. And then some other more easy to understand adventures that we go on with these students. They form lifelong friendships among themselves and with their faculty, and then have all of these shared experiences. As I said a few times, you watch the students change and grow through discussions and writings, through keeping a field journal. I've heard quotes like, I realized my parents weren't crazy, they were just Costa Rican. We had a student who'd never spent time in Costa Rica, but her parents were Costa Rican and learned so much about herself and her family. As I watched the dog chasing the bus, I realized I too was chasing the wrong dream. Students getting really reflective. And how do you get students at this age to be reflective? It's a lot of work. But by the end of the semester, these students really have a new understanding as to who they are. Next. And there's no better place to do this than Costa Rica. It's beautiful, it's relatively safe, it's easy to get around, it's fun, there's great facilities, the Soltis Center, and of course some incredibly wonderful people who you've gotten to meet through this mini exploration. Next. I also get to watch others change and grow. That little tiny thing in the front was my daughter in 2014, accompanied by a group of students. And you can see her shadow and my wife's shadow on the wall to the right. Next. So my family has traveled with me every year to Costa Rica, and you can see the development from a tiny little pestilence up to a 7-year-old now, going on 8-year-old young lady who's been absolutely incredible to have as a companion on these learning experiences. Next. So to sum up, I guess Costa Rica is a small, diverse, vibrant, picturesque, wonderful, and successful country. And I really feel it's a privilege to be able to go to Costa Rica and work there, especially now since we won't be having a fall semester program. And I'll gonna have to work hard to recruit for the 2021 version in order to be able to go down and repeat these incredible experiences that I have with the students. And I think with that, thank you very much. There's my daughter marching in the Independence Day parade in Costa Rica as part of her school that she attends. So faculty are people too, and it's absolutely wonderful to have the opportunity to speak to you today and to explore the incredible world that is Costa Rica. Thank you.
Dr. Brightsmith, thank you so much. You have a beautiful family, and I really appreciate you sharing the importance of having faculty that are willing to take the extra time and go the extra mile to provide these transformative experiences for our students. So I'm just so grateful for you and the many other faculty that work with our office with Education Abroad to provide these experiences for students. We couldn't do it without you, and so just thank you again. I do want to mention that since 2010, we've had over 3,100 Aggie students travel to Costa Rica for an Education Abroad experience. So quite a large number. And it's largely in part due to faculty like Dr. Brightsmith. In fact, 70% of our students going to Costa Rica, so about 2,199 to be exact, were part of a faculty-led or a field trip. So they were going with an A&M faculty member that was leading the course, leading the research or field experience. So again, we can't thank our faculty enough. About 13% of students going to Costa Rica were part of a student organization there to do service learning or volunteer. About 10% went with a third-party provider that specializes in experiences in Costa Rica, like perhaps the one Dr. Brightsmith did himself as a student. And then about 8% of students go for independent travel to do research or conferences. So really, really glad to have such a strong partner in the Soltis Center, the Texas A&M Soltis Center, for students to have such rich experiences there. We're not going to show this video right now due to our time, but it is another opportunity to see students at the Soltis Center in Costa Rica, and it's actually a College of Architecture field trip. So I encourage you to go to this link later and take a look at that video.
Great. Well, gonna do a quick wrap up. Thank you all for hanging with us. We did run a little bit long, but we appreciate you staying with us. Some upcoming events that we thought that you might be interested in that are being organized by my office, Public Partnership and Outreach, and Brazos Valley World Fest. We have a World Explorer virtual walk that is taking place from June 15th through the 28th. You're able to take steps around the world and visit the Taj Mahal, Machu Picchu, the Forbidden City, and lots of other exciting locales. The walk is open to all ages, and registration is $20, which includes a walk t-shirt. And you'll also be able to get some commemorative photos from the sites you visit. So it's going to be a lot of fun. If you are here locally in Bryan College Station, we also have a Culture Club dinner coming up on June 18th. It is this month going to be a 3-course dinner highlighting courses around the world. It will be carry-out only this month, but we do hope to have our in-person meals again soon. But registration for both of those can be found on our Brazos Valley WorldFest.org site. When you get to the home page, click on the activities button on the left, and a menu will pop up, and these events will be listed there. Very easy for you to find them. But if you do have any questions, you can email me at kfox@tamu.edu. We'll move to the next. And just again, want to give you all a quick thank you for joining us, all the partners and presenters here today. Make sure to connect with us on Facebook. That'll keep you updated on all of our upcoming presentations, part of this around the world in 10 weeks, as well as the many other offerings that we have. We also have a link, and we'll add that video that we mentioned there as well for some kids activities, some other websites that have information, as well as some other videos. So check that out. Our next presentation next week will be Thursday again at 11 a.m. and we'll be traveling to Ecuador. So we really look forward to you joining us there. So our next slide, I think, is going to be transitioning into our wrap-up video. We're going to start the video. Please enjoy as much of it as you like. And we look forward to seeing you next week as we visit Ecuador. Thanks and Giga.
Before we start the video, Sarah was checking to see if we had any questions come into the chat box.
I don't see any new questions, Katie, but just a friendly reminder, if anybody does have any questions, now is the time to ask. We still have some of our presenters here with us, so don't be shy. Feel free to ask, and I'm happy to facilitate getting those answered for you.
Otra vez. Howdy. Hello, better. Mucho mejor. Para continuar, vamos a tener una presentación artística con estudiantes de la secundaria del Liceo de Chachagua, quienes han estado dirigidos por la profesora Patricia Rodríguez y Edgardo González. Es una presentación de un solo bloque de aproximadamente 11-12 minutos. Okay, we're going to have an artistic presentation. A correr la música.
Ha dado su vida guardia morada, pero también le ha inspirado su carreta bien pintada, con sus colores vistosos juguetean por los valles y le risco montañoso llevando siempre a su lado al boyero que la guía por la ruta serranía, al boyero que la guía por la ruta serranía. Por carreta de los cantares, de sus ejes sonandinos, que van creciendo pesares por toditos los caminos, que van creciendo pesares por toditos.
Not sure where our sound went.